Welcome, friends. Happy Palm Sunday. This will be one you will never forget. Everybody will know where they were Holy Week of 2020. Normally, if we were able to gather together, we would be beginning service with reading one of the traditional Palm Sunday passages, the triumphant entry of Christ into Jerusalem. And, we'd be waving our palms and we would be singing our hymns and celebrating in that way. I've posted those scriptures for you so you can scroll up and read one of them. And also, if you hit pause and go read Philippians 2 1 to 11, that would be great too, because that's what we're going to talk about. So go ahead. All right, so I want to start off talking a little bit about the traditional Palm Sunday passage. My hair is getting out of control, everyone. It's going to be fun to watch that happen over the weeks. I want to talk a little bit about the Jesus is riding into Jerusalem on a donkey. So there's this mix of majesty and humility that happens as Jesus does this. We think of donkeys as sort of a humble animal, but traditionally in Jewish culture, they were what the king rode on. So Jesus is sort of claiming his kingship as he does that. And of course, the people have gathered and they're waving their palm branches and they lay down their cloaks so that he doesn't. It's like the Jesus era rolling out the red carpet, right? It's their way of honoring him so that even the hooves of the steed that he is on don't touch the ground. They are crying out Hosanna, which is kind of like, huzzah! It's that, sort of joyful exclamation, but it means save us. And it recognizes that only the king can save. And if you watched that video of Andrew Peterson that I posted yesterday, you heard him talk a little bit about that. And so there is, even as they cheer Jesus on, they are crying out for salvation. And I just think that's a really beautiful detail and one that I always appreciate. So there's all this kingly stuff around Jesus as he rides into Jerusalem. There's all this, pomp and circumstance. So that's the majesty part of it. But there's also this humility part of it. And the humility part is that Jesus is riding into Jerusalem knowing that people are out to kill him. Knowing that he will be arrested, that he will be tried, that he will be hung on a cross. He goes there knowing that, humbling himself in that way, laying down his life for his friends, and we are his friends, even 2,000 years later. So I just wanted to point all that out about Palm Sunday, and then I want to talk a little bit through the Philippians 2 passage and talk about the really the humility piece of this. So the Philippians 2, I wanted to point out to you verses 3 and 4, and I just don't think there could be any more timely piece of advice than this. Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourselves, not looking to your own interests, but each of you to the interests of others. That's it. That's what we're doing right now. That's what we have been called upon to do as we stay at home and stay safe. And then in verse 5 it says, in your relationships with one another, have the same mindset of Jesus Christ, who being in very nature God did not consider equality with God something to be used in his own advantage. And then it goes on to talk about how he had the nature of a servant and he humbled himself to death, even death on a cross. And that was, of course, that was the death of criminals. That was not, it was not a good way to die. It was a pretty horrific way to die. And it was a shameful way to die. There is a big part of that is the shaming of the criminal as they are put to death. And Jesus takes that on because he is the king, but he is the humble king. So I want to just share with you a few thoughts on humility. Scott Hosey of the Calvin Institute says that humility makes you celebrate the fact that we all need each other. Again, could there be anything more timely right now? Part of why this is so hard, this isolating and staying at home thing, is that we need each other. It's hard for us to not have those interactions because we need each other. We were made for community. We were made for relationship. There's a meme that's been going around that says, we stay at home now, or we stay separate now so that when we get back together, no one is missing. We know that's not going to be across the board. There are already people missing. There are already people who are losing their lives every day in this global pandemic, and the numbers have just gotten to the point where I can't even take them in some ways. It's like I can see them when they're on the screen on the TV, and then 3 seconds later, I can't tell you what I just saw because like my brain just won't absorb it anymore because they've gotten so astronomical and scary worldwide. And of course, what we're trying to do here in Ontario is to keep those numbers as low as we possibly can. Scott Hosey also says that pride isolates while humility connects. I love that. Jesus was always about connecting. He was always about relationship, about getting to know people, talking with people, meeting with people, having that just that connection, right, with anyone he met. And so, yeah, pride isolates while humility connects. I think there's something about being humble that is so dearly important to us in these days. One of our elders, Nancy Green, sent me an email this week, and she shared with me some words from a doctor in India who spoke about all the things that help stop the spread of this virus are the things of the affluent and the things of privilege. Staying at home assumes you have a home. Assumes you have a place where you can shelter and be safe. And, when we think of our homes, we have, they're not little shacks. They're not little shantytown houses. We have these beautiful homes that we get to shelter in place in and to be safe in. And hard as it is to stay at home, I think there's a part of us that just has to recognize how much we have in able to be able to stay home. Washing our hands assumes that we have clean water and soap. And those are so basic that we don't think of them 95% of the time. But there are parts of the world where there is no clean water and they can't afford soap. Cleaning products, Lysol wipes and hand sanitizers and the other things to clean our houses and to clean our surfaces. Being able to use those assumes that you have money to buy them. Lots of people don't. Staying apart assumes that you have the space to stay apart, that you aren't packed in millions of people in a small area. In Canada, our population is small compared to India, especially, and we have that ability to stay apart. And this Indian doctor talked about the fact that so many of these things, that all the things that we are doing to try to stop the spread won't be able to be done by the poorest in India. And so I appreciated that so much. Thanks for sending it, Nancy, because it it made me rethink a few things. It made me recognize a few things, and it made me feel a little more humble and a little more grateful for all that I do have and all that we do have. You know, we there are endless memes right now about Zoom meetings and Skype and phone calls and all those sorts of things. We have the technology to do that. We have all of us have our internet connections. You're watching a video sermon right now because I have a computer, I have a Wi-Fi connection, and I can do this because of how much we have. So be humble, be grateful. We are so very blessed. And I think if we can see staying at home as thinking of others better than ourselves, this gives us, it gives us some hope, but it also gives us a purpose to keep doing what we're doing and to heed that advice from our medical experts. There's a song we used to sing at Lakehead University Christian Fellowship when I was doing my BA in Thunder Bay, and it's an old song by Glenn Campbell. It's called A Little Less of Me. Let me be a little kinder, let me be a little blinder to the faults of those about me. Let me praise a little more. Let me be when I am weary, just a little bit more cheery. Think a lot more about others and a little less of me. Ooh, okay. I thought I was going to get through that, and I didn't. Think a lot more about others and a little less of me. Friends, we are undefeated because our King has come. He has come to show us the ways of humility. He has come to show us the ways of sacrifice. He has come to show us the ways of connection and of love. Happy Palm Sunday. Celebrate with your family in your own home, not going anywhere with your others. Be blessed. Recognize that Christ is with you there in your house. God bless you.